Reddit, what's the funniest thing that a random stranger said to you? That made you die laughing inside? Watched a guy walking to class, at my college years ago saying, "Get the F out of my way," to a pigeon, standing in his path. The pigeon quickly waddled off to the side. This happened to me, but in reverse. I was walking my dogs in a park that is always full of those damn Canadian geese. Two were in the path and would not move, and my dogs were freaking, trying to chase them. They wouldn't move, so we chased them from the path. I turned and said out loud to them, "Yeah, that's right, I told you to move." Or something sassy like that, and realized, there was a couple behind me. Watching a grown woman and her dogs chase geese and then verbally abuse them. LOL. Added to all the glorious comments below, I only chase these guys at the park, with my dogs. Last month, they migrated off of the park and started roaming in my neighborhood. I am not sassy when there are 15 geese standing on the road outside of my house. Watching. Waiting. Plotting. Added number 2, till, or yesterday I learned, they are called Canada geese. I wonder if calling them Canadian is a regional thing? I have no idea what this quote is y'all keep telling me, but I'll marinate over it. IOO. Also, thanks for my first gold. When I was around 10, my dad took my brother and me to a Sox game at Fenway. We get to the park and I was putting mustard on a hot dog from one of those mustard box push-down nozzle things. This random guy next to me goes, "Yeah buddy, lather that bitch up." 10-year-old me thought it was about the funniest thing I'd ever heard, and I still chuckle when I think about it, as an adult. Edit. Thanks for the great comments and gold/silver everyone. I've been laughing about this all day. I was at a 50th wedding anniversary party and there were lots of elderly people in attendance. An old man was standing next to me and said, "It looks like a effing graveyard in here." I literally spit my beer out. We were outdoors. The kicker was, the guy was close to the same age as everyone else. I was working at Best Buy and had a customer that was 92. He asked the difference between two towers that were about $100 difference in price. I told him that for what he was going to use it for, he said email and Facebook, that they would both work fine, and that if anything the nicer one might last a bit longer. He said, "Last longer? Man, I'm 92. I don't even buy green bananas." Funniest thing I've ever heard. Years ago, when queuing up for movie tickets with my family, the attendant asked the ages of our 4 kids, to see if they could all get children prize tickets. I announced their ages, 7, 9, 11 and 13. Without missing a beat, the stranger behind us declared, "That's an odd group." An old man on the street with a big, jack-o'-lantern grin on his face, and 2 chihuahuas under each arm, loudly proclaiming to no one in particular, "I used to carry grenades. Now I carry dogs." I was at a gas station filling my truck with gas, and overheard a guy yelling at his dog to move over in the car, so his wife could get in. It went like this. "Man to dog, come on get in the middle, so mommy can get in." Dog starts yipping back at him, as if she's arguing. "Man to dog, quit arguing me, I told you to get in the middle, you don't always get your way." Dog again yipping back at him. "Man to dog, if I have to tell you again you're not getting your jerky," holds up a stick of beef jerky. Dog yipping, while reluctantly moving to the middle. "Man to dog, okay promise, no more arguing me and you'll be a good girl." Dog yipping again. "Man to dog, okay seal it with a kiss." Dog gives man kiss. Shit had me dying. Edit. Hot damn, this post blew the F up. Thank you random citizens for my first silvers and first gold, you guys are awesome. Also to clear a few things up, the dog was a Brittany Spaniel, which is a medium-sized dog, and they were in a single cab pickup. Also it was in Maine, and if it was any of your parents or so's, you guys rock, and still make me laugh about it to this day. Glad I could brighten everyone's day. Something I overheard, as 2 kids walked past our caravan park site. A rumbling boom of distant thunder. Kid 1, I like thunder. It sounds like a 200-year-old dog, who's retired, and helps old people, who are blind to get around. Kid 2, silence. Kid 1, you know? Kid 2, but why is it retired? Kid 1, because it's old. Kid 2, but it's still helping blind people. Kid 1, silence. A few years ago, I let my friend cut my hair. It did not go well. I was living in Philadelphia at the time, and was walking through South Philly, when I passed 2 strangers in the middle of the conversation. As I pass, one of them says to the other, "Hold up, I gotta talk to this guy." He proceeds to shout to me, "Ayo. "Your hair looks like shit. Come over here." I was amused, partially because of his bluntness and partially because he wasn't wrong. I was curious, so I walked over to him. He says, "Look, a buddy of mine owns a barber shop 2 blocks away. Here's his business card, I'll write my name on there. If you mention that I sent you, he'll give you a good deal." Bruh, but seriously, take care of that shit. I never ended up going to his friend's shop, but I frequently use this story as the perfect example of Philly culture: rude, blunt and in your face, yet somehow coming from a place of genuine care. Plus, it's effing hilarious. Okay, the laughter was not entirely inside, but years ago on the subway in NY, a crazy dude walks on the train, and screams at everyone, "You're all going to hell," and then steps off, as the doors close. Total silence, as the weirdness of the moment settles in. Then, without missing a beat, guy across from me goes, "Shit, I thought this train was going to Harlem." Entire subway car of cynical New Yorkers bursts out laughing. I'm in the bathroom at work, washing my hands, and one of the professors that I don't think I've ever actually spoken to comes in and starts washing her lanyard in the sink. I try to make small talk with work people, even though I suck at it, so I try to strike up a conversation that goes down as follows. "Morning. Ugh, I spilled coffee on my lanyard, and now it's all sticky. Blah, that's the worst." At this point she turns off the faucet, and looks at me completely deadpan, with eyes that said she wanted to feed me my own innards, and said, "I think genocide is worse." So I awkwardly mumbled, "Yeah, okay, bye, have a nice day," and quickly escaped. It's turned into a running joke in my office now, though. Anything from the printer being out of toner, to a fire drill, on a cold day, is literally worse than genocide. I had a similar experience with my ex's father. I went to meet her parents for the very first time, and her mom was listing off what we were having for dinner, and she said, "Blah, blah, baked macaroni and cheese." To which I replied, "Oh great. I love macaroni and cheese." At which point her father said, "You love macaroni and cheese?" I just sort of stared at him, stunned, and he said, "I love my wife. I love my kids. I don't love macaroni and cheese." And I said, "Well, I love macaroni and cheese." The college I attend frequently has local elementary and middle school kids on tours, especially on Fridays. One particular Friday, I was in line for the cafeteria, when a group of kids came walking by, with a tour guide. One kinda chubby little dude looked a bit uncomfortable. He was biting his lip a little, and sweating. This part of the tour is usually when they have a bathroom break, and clearly Buddy needed to go. At this point, I should note that the bathrooms are visible from where we're standing. But the tour guide, a fellow student of mine, didn't seem to notice. She just kept going on, talking about the history of the building. I watched this kid go from nervous, to deeply anxious, to visibly clenching, over a span of about 3 minutes. He's staring at the stick figure dude on the men's bathroom sign, as if it was the risen Christ. Ms. Tour Guide takes a break in her spiel. I figure she's done. The next words out of her mouth will be, "Wants to free this boy from the purgatory that is having to use the bathroom on a school trip. It'll be over. He'll be free." What followed, instead, was this. So in 1995, a professor named ABC Kalamazoo. "Move lady, I'm gonna shit my ass." He ran past her to the bathroom, and presumably destroyed it. Poor guy. Had the entire line in tears with laughter though. Edit, I'm not from Kalamazoo, and Professor Albert Bach Cornelius Kalamazoo isn't real. Sorry to crush y'all's dreams. But he does live, through all of our hearts. Also thanks for all the gold or whatever. It feels weird to get such attention, however fleeting, for just wanting some chicken tenders and witnessing a kid almost pooped himself. I used to be a smoker. One time, a scruffy-looking man asked me for a light. I told him I only had matches. It was very windy, he said. "That's okay, there's a trick to it. You light the match, and then suck down real hard. You get a mouthful of sulfur that way, but you gotta have a trick when you're going 30 miles an hour, on top of a tank." A friend of mine's grandpa was in the Navy in World War II. You would not believe the conditions in which that man is capable of lighting a match, cigarette, and smoking the whole thing. Open field, 30 miles per hour winds, torrential rains, 2 acres away from a tornado, even in whiteout snowstorms. It's insanity to witness in person. Edit, acre isn't a unit of distance, okay? Little girl to me, after I explain, "My service dog helps me when I'm sick." Oh, So he's your dog tour? Me, trying to keep a straight face, yes, exactly. May of 2000, passing through Norwood, Louisiana with a friend. At around 2 in the afternoon, we stopped to gas up / grab some snacks, at the most potent gas station, known to man. A young man, extremely agitated, comes in with frustrated gestures and angrily shouts / gestures, at the cashier, with an accent that is beyond region, beyond stereotyping, beyond anything I have heard before. Where the goddamn Wally Millions at? At the top of lungs, approaching hysteria and tears. This reminds me of the time I asked for directions in South Georgia and it went like this. Her, go down there and take a left. Us, Her, then go past the gas station. Us, okay. Her, then yawn. Us, yawn? Her, yeah. Then yawn. Took us forever to realize she was saying, then you're on your own. I was doing tech support, over the phone, for an internet company, at a call center. I got a call from an elderly woman, because her internet stopped working. After checking remotely, that the modem was working, and that there was no issues on her area, I was scheduling a visit, from one of our technician, when she suddenly says, "Oh, I know what happened. The cat was playing around the router yesterday." Right, you think it took a cable or something? No, he probably took away the Wi-Fi. You mean like, he moved the router? No, he probably took the airwaves of the Wi-Fi. You know how cats see things we can't. He surely say the Wi-Fi signal, grabbed it and took it away. It took all my willpower, to not laugh in her face, and finish the call. No so much said to me, as overheard. Walking down the street with my fiancée, after dinner, a man and woman pass us. Very clearly I heard the man say. And that's the second time I got crabs. I just keep a special little comb, at the house now, just in case. I'm not sure of any particulars, and have thought about that interaction, often. So many questions. I know they heard me laugh, though. Edit, damn everyone, thanks for all the great stories. Good to know there are so many jokers out there in the world. In college, this one girl in the front of the room, chimes in on something, and mentioned, that her eyes change color during the summer every year, from blue to green. This black dude, in the back of the class, whispers to his friend, "Yeah bitch," and I turn white in winter. I had to remove myself immediately, before I made a scene, from laughing so hard. I was rollerblading down a hill too fast, and landed on my ass. Painful, sure, but not excruciatingly so. An old man walked by, and said, in the most jolly voice, "Is your behind okay, young lady?" I was shaking of laughter. My behind was okay, yes. I must have been about 10 or 11. I sat down on a bench next to an old guy, to sort my shoe out. I took my shoe off, and he just turns to me and says, "Are they golfing socks?" I look at him, with a completely blank look on my face thinking, WTF? As I looked away, he just said, "There's a hole in one." I have a 5.5-pound Chihuahua. He's about as intimidating as a bunny rabbit. I was walking him on the grass, along the road. A couple of walkers were coming near me, and my dog started barking at them, so I picked him up. The guy says, "Thank you for picking him up. We were really scared." At a festival, and sitting around the campfire, when a very intoxicated man kept saying, "I need to borrow your fireplace." He wouldn't let it go, despite being right by the fire. Turns out, he needed a lighter for his cigarette, and was so drunk, that he forgot what it was called. My laughter was not internal. I died laughing right in front of him. I once was canoeing with my fiancée, for the first time, and we were having a bit of trouble at first, getting a rhythm going, so we were along the edge of the water, hitting the canal. This random couple, was walking along the wall, and said to his wife, while pointing at us, "Ah, canoeing, the true test of love." My fiancée and I, busted into laughter for 20 minutes, and then finally got a rhythm together. I was riding the subway, home, one night, with a Spike's Junkyard sandwich, of the buffalo chicken variety. A clearly drunk guy with his girlfriend said to me, "Are you going to face off that sandwich?" To which I replied, "Yes." He then turned to his girlfriend and said, "Babe, let's get some buffalo chicken." Riding the public bus in Vegas about 13 years ago. I'm sitting kind of in the middle. There's this guy sitting kind of in the front, having an extremely animated conversation with another guy next to him. The other guy looks like he's barely acknowledging what animated guy is saying. We get to a stop, and animated talker guy gets up, but other guy doesn't. It was then that I realize that they weren't together, and that this dude was just talking in a semi-crazy way to some random dude on the bus. But animated talker doesn't want to get off. He wants the other guy to acknowledge that he was right about something. The other guy is just nodding, and trying to get on with his life, but this lunatic just kept yammering away. There gets to be some audible grumbling from the other riders, because this dude is now holding up the bus. He finally goes to get off. Dude makes it almost to the sidewalk, when he does an about-face, gets back on the bus and yells out, "And another thing." At that second, nearly everyone on the bus yelled at the guy to GTFO. He obviously wasn't expecting it, as he kind of recoiled and skittered away. The guy does kind of this awkward half-run thing, directly into a psychiatrist's office. It was at this moment that an older gruff guy, who was sitting in the back and quietly reading a newspaper this entire time, pipes up, and says, in a thick East Coast-sounding accent, "Go and see a psychiatrist, go effin' figure." Everyone on the bus, including myself, just busted out laughing. A few months ago, I was waiting at a road crossing, with loads of other strangers, waiting for the man to turn green. This was a busy main road in my city. A little girl on the other side of the road did the most accurate impression of the beep beep that the crossing makes, so blind people know it's safe to cross, and the entire crowd of people just stepped into the road. I had seen her do it, so I stayed put, but I couldn't stop laughing. My girlfriend was confused. 50 adults pranked by one absolute genius 6-ish-year-old. It was magical. Edit, it was really busy, so traffic was hardly moving, there wasn't a chance of being injured. I was helping a customer pick out a new bra, and she said she wanted her breasts to be lifted. She said, "My boobs are so saggy, that if my nipples were eyeballs, I'd be able to see, if my shoes were untied." I really tried my best to remain professional, but I couldn't stop laughing, lol. San Francisco, and its surrounding area, is serviced by railcar subway known as the BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit System. While a nominally useful fixture, this mode of transportation suffers from the fact that it evidently intersects several different parallel dimensions, becoming a kind of attraction point for all of the strangeness and insanity that the multiverse can offer. Someone riding the BART might encounter a homeless fellow, who claims to have invented Bill Gates, yes, Bill Gates the person, or they could find themselves watching 3 teenagers breakdance their way across the ceiling. Both of those have happened to me, incidentally. But the funniest moment that I had with a BART riding stranger occurred when I found myself trying to interact with an elderly Chinese woman. The individual in question had come hobbling into the car with a large backpack held in front of her. It was clear that she was trying to find a seat for herself, and the vacant spot next to me was the only easily accessible one. After shuffling over and sitting down, the woman went through a semi-comical series of pantomimes with me, as we tried to figure out where she could put her belongings. And although neither of us spoke the other's language, the process helped us develop an odd sort of in-the-moment camaraderie. That warmth remained as the train started moving, which is when an impromptu lesson of sorts began. My new friend nudged my arm, and pointed to a seemingly random person. "Chicken," she said. "Chicken?" I repeated. "Chicken," the woman repeated. "Ga ga ga." I have since learned that ga is what chickens say in China. I squinted at the person who was allegedly the embodiment of a fowl. She was a young woman with her hair in a tight ponytail, wearing a pantsuit that suggested a career in some variety of cubicle-based environment. Nothing about her screamed, "chicken," but I suppose that she might have been hiding feathers beneath her clothes. Another nudge pulled me from my thoughts. "Chicken," my companion said again, pointing to someone new. This process continued for a while, and I eventually discovered a pattern. People who were well-kempt, apparently polite, and keeping to themselves were chickens. It was a strange sort of compliment, but certainly not the worst that I'd heard, especially considering that I've personally been referred to as a bird. The train soon came to a halt at another stop, and passengers went through the dance of switching places with new arrivals, entering and exiting as their commutes dictated. It was then that a young man in worn-out clothes came storming into view, muttering to himself about something which was clearly aggravating him. Then, as the car's doors started to close, this fellow appeared to be suddenly struck by an unpleasant realization. "F." the guy shouted. "No, F." He flailed with his arms, blocking the doors, and causing an alarm to sound in the process, then made a big show of prying them apart. "F. Hey, where the F are you? Bitch. F. What the F?" What the F? As quickly as he had appeared, the fellow had departed. Everyone in the train looked relieved. The woman next to me leaned in close. Not chicken. Try though I did, I couldn't stop myself from laughing out loud. TLDR, in which I am informed of the virtues of the chicken. I was in the drive-thru of the Wendy's one time. An employee exited the building with his headphones on, and was singing, "Who Let the Dogs Out," at the top of his lungs. He saw me, stopped singing, and started walking away. A few seconds later, he come up to my window and said, "Yes, that is what I'm listening to." Then he walked away. I laughed so hard at the whole situation. Didn't tell me straight but only overheard, so, this guy was talking to his phone and I'd why, but his face looked so serious and he was almost red as tomato, he anger. The phone was on loudspeaker mode, I forgot what to call the thingy when you call someone, and he and the one he talking to, was arguing over, that green guy who owned a swamp and has a donkey friend, and the guy on his phone, was saying, its name was Shrek, and he was saying it was called, a Smurf. They were screaming to each other, and people just ignore them and get confused. Edit, a thank you for the upvotes yeet. I'm new here in Reddit, and I already have a silver, thank you for that person who gave me that too. Also, as I was saying, he anger or, I anger is, now my new catchphrase. It wasn't until years later, I knew what he was saying, and then laughed. When I was about 11. My parents were out of town, but I wanted to go to the mall so I walked. A, sorta sketchy, guy walks from his sidewalk to mine and asks, "What are you buying, blood?" Innocence responded, "Nothing, I just want to see my friends." He laughed to himself and kept walking. But who tries to sell to an 11-year-old white suburban child? I was grocery shopping yesterday. A what seemed to be single mom, judging by the stressed out behavior, was there with her two girls, both aged between 5 and 8. The girls were really enjoying shopping, touching every item, speaking to every employee and customer, goofing around really hard. Their mom kept telling them to stop, and apologized every minute to somebody, getting even more stressed. I passed by the girls, the older one played witch, using a flashlight that was on display, working spells on anyone nearby. So, she put her spell on me too, making me a giant. I am 208 meters tall, weighing 150 kilograms. She yelled, "Mom, look, it worked." I made him big. I was already laughing. What really made me die laughing inside, was when Mom, ultimately stressed, apologized on autopilot, while doing the shopping, looked up and I saw her face, trying to look sincere, while hiding her laughter.